What's up, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's happening with the market moving forward as we have more data coming out for tomorrow, not to mention important pieces of news involving the markets and Tesla. But let me just mention that I am not a financial planner. Take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire Tesla community as a whole. Anyways, for Tesla, we're doing a pretty good job so far, making higher highs and higher lows. Tesla saw some interesting volatility after we got the FOMC minutes. And I think the market's looking more bullish than bearish heading into tomorrow. So we may be looking for another good push. However, despite the push that's coming, I want to make it very clear that the market's going to be testing some very, very tough resistance levels. I'll be watching to see if that ends up stopping the markets. Tesla does have potential to push tomorrow, so does SPY, the QQQ, and etc. But resistance is going to be very, very tough as we get closer to the all-time highs as we approach some key levels. So I'll talk about all of them in just a couple of minutes. The question is, what happened today? Why is the market so crazy? A quick recap. I just want to make it very clear that the non-farm payrolls annual revision was not too good. And this is a very, very big piece of news. The US Labor Department has come out and they've revised the 12-month job growth down by a massive 818,000 jobs. This means the US economy actually created 818,000 less jobs than what was reported initially. That's very important. The reason why this is important is it's showing more weakness in the labor markets, and this tends to be associated with those recessions. You want to be very careful. The last time we got a revision that was this big was 2009. So what did the market do? That's the reason why in the very beginning we got this nice little pump and dump. Tesla saw this pump and dump, so did SPY and the others. So right over here, you guys could see Tesla pushed all the way up to about 225. Then we dumped all the way down to 219. So it's like a 6 points dip. And we saw SPY pushed all the way up to about 562. And then we dumped all the way down to 558. So that's the reason why the market did this. But then we got bought back up again. And we started to push again after we got the next piece of data, the FOMC minutes. So this caused the market to pump, and we are still looking bullish because of this next piece of data. Why? The FOMC minutes are suggesting that the Fed is going to most likely cut rates in September. What a surprise that is, but I just want to make it very clear that I think this is going to be very important for the election that's coming up, not to mention the fact that the Fed is in a very, very critical place. But the majority of the Fed participants are fixated on the notion to cut rates for September, and the market loved that news. Right now, there is a 36% chance we get a 50 basis point cut and a 64% chance we get a 25 basis point cut. In total, that's a 100% chance we do get a cut according to the markets for September. That's what the market is expecting. All right. So that's why the market is now pushing again. The market's excited about that. The market's happy about what the Fed announced. That's why Tesla's also looking a little bit more bullish as well. So pretty wild day with all this data. The question is, what's happening from here? So from this point on, I just want to mention that we have the fear and greed index currently at neutral. We're seeing bullish momentum and extreme greed coming back. And then the put and call option positioning is dipping as we're seeing call buyers stepping in. And the VIX is still at this resistance at the 50 EMA on the daily time frame. For earnings, in case you're interested, just to be very blunt, Target did relatively well. They beat on EPS and revenue. You could pause the video and look at the numbers right here. And they ended up getting good outlooks. So that's why the share price is up for Target. Macy's had mixed earnings. They beat on EPS and missed on revenue, and their guidance was not necessarily the best. That's why the share price is down. And then for Zoom, okay, Zoom saw a good amount of sales, good guidance, and good EPS and revenue. That's why the share price is up. So that's it for earnings for now. I just wanted to give you guys a quick update on that. Now let's just focus on Tesla and then the charts. So as a reminder, Tesla had to issue a recall for about 9100 Model X SUVs over a trim issue of the roof. The NHTSA has done an investigation and they said that there is a risk of accidents because of the fact that certain parts of the roof could end up coming off, and that could cause a road hazard, according to them. So they are saying that for 9,000 Model X's, they have to basically recall them and they have to be very, very mindful of that. So that's going to be very important. It covers the 2016 Model X SUVs made in July, so about 9,100 of them. And as a result of this, Tesla has to do a real recall, not just your typical software update. That's part of why Tesla dipped a little bit. But then we had some good news that came out. So let me close this real quick. The good news was that Tesla got an outperform rating from Baird. That's a good piece of news with a $280 price target amidst the fact that the European tariffs are not going to be as high as before. So we're going to have a 9% import tariff for Tesla's Chinese made EVs instead of 21%. Baird said that this is bullish, and they gave Tesla a $280 price target right over here. This is the report. Bullish news for Tesla. So let's just talk about this, and I'll talk about the charts in just a minute. Baird is saying Tesla's going to outperform the market, and so did Piper Sandler. Good piece of news for them. The price price ratio is going up as Tesla's building some strength. And then note that for Thursdays, we tend to be green about 48% of the time, and there's more volatility around 1 p.m. Besides that, I just want to mention to everyone that volume is only 70 million, a little bit below average. That's why Tesla's quite flat, and short volume is increasing a little bit. So that being said, that's it for all my data, all my news. I know that was a lot, guys, but let's just focus on the charts now. What on earth is going on with the markets? Well, the answer is right now, let's zoom out of Tesla and go to the 4-hour time frame. As you can see, we are still bullish on Teslas. We're making higher highs and higher lows. And because of the FOMC minutes, the market's now trying to rebound. So now the market's trying to bounce. Tesla's trying to rebound as well. And I think there's going to be an attempt to do so tomorrow. We're trying to respect this uptrend right here. So make sure you watch 225 as resistance on Tesla. And then if we break that, we're going up to 228, then 230. And if we turn bearish, look at 222. If that fails us, I'm going to be looking for this 219 zone, followed by 217. Right now, from a technical standpoint, the 4 hour is looking more bullish. I think Tesla's going to be pushing for 225. But my concern is with the way the market's moving as we're approaching resistance, will Tesla break this 228 area to establish a higher high relative to this high, or will Tesla get a rejection and establish a lower high? So you want to be very mindful of that. Tesla's in a very, very critical place. Will we break the high from a couple of days ago, or will we end up making a lower high and dipping? So you want to be very careful when playing this. I think tomorrow morning we push to about 225, and then we're going to be looking for a big reaction. One thing I forgot to mention is tomorrow is going to be Thursday, August 22nd. We have more data coming out. Before the market opens, watch for initial jobless claims, and then 15 minutes after open, look for the S&P Global Composite Manufacturing and Services PMI. The PMI report will cause some high volatility. So I think what's going to happen is there's going to be a big reaction to the data. Tesla is going to likely push to 225 tomorrow, in my opinion. And then we're going to be watching the PMI report. If we get a pump, Tesla goes all the way up to 228 or 230. If you reject off 225, we come back down. But look for initial upside for the first 30 minutes of the day. For the first 15 to 30 minutes, I think Tesla may see some upside, and we'll see what the reaction is once the data comes out. So I think we push a little higher tomorrow. We do look more bullish, but then watch and see if we get a rejection. Now, when it comes to SPY, I had another warning for everyone. The chart looks bullish. Okay, we are trying to push higher, but every time SPY hits 562 to 564, we have rejected historically. So what I'm thinking is looking at the 4 hour, we look bullish on SPY. We're going to try to push tomorrow most likely. I'm going to be looking for 562 to be tested. If we break above this resistance, I think we're easily going up to the 564s towards the all-time high. And then this could be a possible shorting opportunity, but you want to set a stop just to be safe. If we break the 564s, we could be going all the way up towards the 570 area, 568 and 570. If we reject off the 564s, we could be coming back down to about 560 flat. And if that does not hold, the main support to watch for is 556. If we lose that, we turn bearish. So in my opinion, okay, listen to me very carefully. I think the chart looks bullish, and we're going to push a little bit higher. I think we're going to try to fill this gap on the 4 hour time frame. I think there is potential for SPY to pump. Okay, we might dip in the morning and start pushing higher, get to 562. If that breaks, we might try to get to all time highs. But we'll have to see if we break through them or not. If we break them, we remain bullish. If we reject, we're going to be dipping. It's possible we're forming like a cup and handle, so there is that risk of us getting that rejection. And the last time we hit 564, we did get a big rejection. So you want to be very careful at that all-time high, that tough resistance. So watch and see, do we push to all-time highs and then reject, or do we break through this? I'll be watching that very carefully. There is a risk of us getting that rejection, guys, so be very careful. So we might push a little bit higher, then we'll see what the move happens to be. For ES, we're trying to push right now. We're looking at resistance around this 5650 area. If we break 5650, our next target is going to be 5680 and eventually the 5700 area. If we reject off 5650, we'll be dipping back down towards 5600 flat. In my personal opinion, I think that we could attempt to go a little higher to 5650, maybe 5680, and then we'll see what the reaction is. In all honesty, on SPY, okay, we're forming a bearish divergence that does tend to suggest a downside move could be coming on the RSI and the MACD and also other indicators. And then we also have some topping signals that could be forming. They don't guarantee anything, but they are suggesting there could be a risk of that happening. So in my opinion, I think when it comes to ES, I think that there is a good chance that we might see a little bit of a dip. I'm sorry, a little bit of a pump and then maybe a dip afterwards, depending on how things go. But in my personal opinion, I think that we're going to be very patient with this chart and watch and see what kind of reaction we get. So look at 56A to be tested tomorrow, a little bit more upside and see what kind of reaction we get. That's going to be pivotal for the way we end up moving. Same thing with Nvidia. I think that Nvidia looks bullish on the 4-hour time frame. I could be looking for basically 130. I think we might push close to 130 as soon as tomorrow, but then we'll watch and see if we get that rejection. If we reject off 130, we could be forming a double top and start dipping back down to 124.7, very close to our 20 EMA. If we break 130, look for 132 and 135. So the accumulation looks bullish. I think that Nvidia may be pushing for 130. Then we'll see if we get a rejection or not. For Bitcoin is once again at resistance around this 61,000 area. If we manage to hold above that, we'll be looking for basically 62,700. If we end up losing 60,800, we could be dipping all the way down to about 59,700. So with the way things are looking, Bitcoin's going to likely try to push for just under 62,000 in my opinion, and watch and see if we get a rejection. We might push a little bit in my opinion based off this trend. We have a nice accumulation here. For NQ, okay, we look a little bit bullish. We could be looking for 20,000 tomorrow. If that breaks, I'd be looking for this wick right here around this 20,150 area. So I think we might go a little higher. 20,000 to 20,150 could be coming, but there's a big but. If we reject off 20,000, we could be coming back down to about 19,700, followed by the 19,400 area. So I think this is my prediction. We push towards 20,000, maybe a little bit above that, and then we'll watch and see if we get a rejection. For now, we are a little bit more bullish. So tomorrow, look for a little bit more upside and see what ends up happening. Don't forget, guys, we have the PMI report coming out. That's going to be very important. So we'll see what that leads to. So look for some upside and see if we get a rejection. The QQQ also has this bearish divergence that's forming. Watch tough resistance around 485. I think we might push for that tomorrow. We'll see if that breaks. If we break above that, we could get closer to 488. That's a little bit of a stretch, though. For now, just watch 485. The last time we hit this, we did get 2 rejections off that resistance. So watch 485. If we reject here on QQQ, we could be dipping back down towards 480. If we break through that, we could be pushing much higher. So be careful on the QQQ. We're approaching some tough resistance, and we'll have to be very careful with the way we end up moving. I think tomorrow we push a little bit higher. We get closer to 485, and we'll see what the reaction happens to be. So for now, the market is bullish, but watch resistance as we get very, very tough. For Apple, we're looking at 227 as resistance. We have support at 226. We're kind of stuck in the middle. Look at 227 to be tested tomorrow. If we break this, I think 228 could be coming. It's possible we push a little bit higher looking at this chart as there's a nice accumulation. But there is that risk that still remains of us potentially getting rejection. So be very mindful of that. Be very careful, guys. Do not be overly bullish. You want to be watching resistance just to be safe. For other factors out there, we also happen to have the we're going to be looking at Palantir, excuse me. Palantir has resistance around 32.5. If that breaks, we're going to 33. Our support's at 31.8. If you guys look at the chart for the last 4 days, it's been going back and forth between supply and demand. So I think we might be testing 32.5, then we might be dipping back down, just continue to remain in this range. So I favor we're just going to continue to trade sideways. That's the most likely possibility. For Supermicro, we're looking a little bit more, I would say, bullish right now, trying to push higher. Look at 609 as key support. If we lose that, we'll be dipping all the way down towards this 595 area, followed by the 580s. And if we're bullish, you're going to be looking for 635 if that breaks. The 635 to 640 area, if that breaks, we're going to be pushing to much higher levels like our gap fill all the way up towards the 660 area. So I think what's going to happen is this. I think tomorrow, Supermicro is going to be pushing for that 640 area. I think we push a little bit higher and then watch and see if we get a rejection. Do we reject off 640 or not? Look for a little bit more upside. We have a nice looking structure right here, but watch and see if we get that rejection depending on the data. For Rivian, we look a little bit more bearish. We're making lower highs and lower lows. And I think that we're starting to lose this wedge right here. We need to get back above at least 13.5 to turn back up. If we don't reclaim that, I think we're at risk of coming to the 12s. I've been saying that for a couple of days now. I think we might be seeing 12.5. Looks kind of lackluster to me. For SoFi, we're kind of stuck in the middle. I just want to mention that we dipped down to our 20 EMA, then bounced off of it. So that's going to be our support at 7.17. And we have resistance at 7.5. 7.4 and 7.5. So I think We could push to where this wick is towards 7.4 tomorrow morning. Then we'll see if we get a rejection. We make our way back down towards 7.2. But I think the range is going to get tighter on SOFA, so I'm not really seeing much. For the IWM, we look bullish. I think the Russell's going to fill this gap and go to at least 216 tomorrow. But just note that around 216 to 217.68, we do have a very, very tough range. If we reject in this range, we're going to be coming back down towards that 213 area. If we break 217, look for a big pump to 220. It all depends on this range. I think tomorrow we're going to test it. I think 216 to 217 is coming tomorrow. So look for a pump on the IWM and watch and see if you get that rejection. For now, the chart remains bullish, but just be careful because resistance is getting tougher. For AMD, we look more bullish. We're basically looking at this 160 area. If that breaks, we're going up to 162. If we're bearish, you want to see us lose 155 to dip down to 151.9. I'm favoring 160. I think we might be looking for 160 on AMD, and we'll see if we reject or not off that. We'll look for a little bit more upside. ARM is just continuing to consolidate, not really doing much. So I'm seeing this range right over here that's going to be tested. We have basically this 132.5 area is resistance and then 128 is support. I think we're just going to shuffle tomorrow between these areas. We might push higher for the 132s tomorrow, then try to dip. So watch that very carefully. Coinbase is looking a little bit more bullish. We could be looking for this imbalance to fill around 209. I think we might push towards that tomorrow. Then we'll see if we reject. If we don't reject off that, we're going up to about 212, then eventually 217. Coin looks a little bit more bullish. I think that 209 is coming. Then we'll see what kind of reaction we get. If we lose 200, you're going to be looking for basically 197. But this chart's favoring this imbalance to fill around 209. So it looks a little bit more bullish. For Amazon, we have a bearish divergence that's starting to develop, but look at our 200 EMA. This 180 area is our resistance. If we break that, we could be pushing. We have to hold 180 basically for at least 2 hours, in my opinion. If we hold above 180, we're going up towards 184. If we could hold above our 200 EMA, if we don't hold 180, look for a rug pull back down to 177. So that's going to be a very big test on Amazon tomorrow. The chart is favoring that it wants to go up to 184, but just to be safe, guys, we'll have to wait and see on this. For Meta, we're forming a nice cup. So instead of forming a head and shoulders, I was concerned about that yesterday. We got a nice rebound thanks to the FOMC minutes. And that's the thing about the data. Sometimes you never know what the data will cause. So it is what it is. Technicals didn't really play out as well. But now we're going to be looking for a retest of this 537 to 540 area. If this breaks, we're pushing higher. If we lose 530, we're going to be dipping back down to 518. I favor that's going to be pushing for 540, and we'll see what kind of reaction we get. For Microsoft, we're going to be testing some key resistance at 425. If we break this, we're going to be looking for 427.5. If we reject it, we're going to be coming back down to 420.8. This is favoring 425, and we'll see what kind of reaction we get. Google's also trying to rebound. I think we're going to be range trading between 166 and 170. I think we might push for 169 and see if we get a rejection. So watch for that as well, very, very carefully. The 4 hour is also looking kind of weak when it comes to the MACD, so be careful. So I think we might push higher for 169 and dip back down. So be careful. For GameStop, we're just trading sideways. We might be testing very close to 23, and we'll see what kind of reaction we get. For AMC, we're trading within a range between 4.96 and 5.04. We might just trade sideways, so give it some time. DJT got a nice bounce because of some bullish news that came out. That's why it's up 13%. I told you it might be testing 20 before we try to bounce, but we came just short of that target. We actually at 21 before trying to bounce. So look at resistance at 24.85. If we break that tomorrow, we're going up towards 25.5. And if we reject off that, look for 22.97 as support. With this big green bar, we're going to be testing resistance tomorrow. So look for a push for 24.64. We may try to break through that to the 25s, but then be careful as we hit resistance. For a few more, the VIX is starting to dip a little bit. So this is suggesting the market may push higher because it's rejecting a little bit off our 200 EMA. So I might be looking for a test of 15 tomorrow. Then we'll see if it bounces. But this suggests the market may try to bounce. The 10-year is dipping because of the fact that the Fed was a little bit more dovish, and the market liked the fact that the majority of Fed participants favor a cut. So that's why the 10-year is dipping. And then the dollar is looking bearish, which is bullish for the markets. So what is my view? In essence, I think the market's going to push higher. Tesla looks bullish for 225 plus. I think that SPY is going to try to push higher as well for 562. If that breaks, 564 is coming to all-time high. So we might temporarily push, okay, but don't turn too bullish. Don't turn too bullish or too bearish. Wait and see what the chart tells us. there is a risk of the market getting a big rejection if SPY rejects at the all-time high, because historically that is what tends to happen, right? Every time SPY hits 562 to 564, historically it does reject. So you want to be very, very careful as we approach these high levels. With that being said, I want to thank you all so much for listening. I'll be back tomorrow before the market opens to talk about initial jobless claims and then report on the PMI reports for our data. So get ready for some high volatility. Get ready for a lot of interesting price action, some good trades that are coming. I'll see you guys very soon in the next one for tomorrow. Have a great day, night, or evening, wherever you guys are around the world. Thank you so much for listening to this video and your attention, and peace out.